for cross buns. It's that time of the year, it's Easter. It's a good way to revise or to learn about the different functions in bread making by using a festive bread as our example. We have strong bread flour, 250 grams. We have some salt available. We want half a teaspoon later. We've got caster sugar. That will be a tablespoon. We have a variety of mixed spices already mixed together. There's some ginger powder in there, 1/4 teaspoon. There's 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. There's half a teaspoon of cinnamon and about 1/8 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I also have some dried yeast that's fast acting, so that will work well. I have some milk in here as well, 175 mils of milk. We're going to heat that up in a minute. I've got a tablespoon of butter that I'm going to add to the milk, and I'll have some vanilla essence and some jam. To start, take your butter, put it in the milk and put it in the microwave for about 40 seconds. That's going to melt the butter and get the milk to the correct temperature. We want the milk nice and warm because we want that yeast to be excited. That yeast likes between about 38 to 40 degrees centigrade. Whilst that is melting, I'm going to take the dry ingredients. We've got strong flour today. Strong flour because it has a high protein content. That protein is called gluten. The two proteins that make gluten are called gliadin and glutenin, and it's in the kneading process that they come together. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of caster sugar, I'm going to add my spices, I'm going to add my dried yeast. I'm going to let that milk and butter mixture just sit there for a moment. I'm going to use the zest of a mandarin. If you don't have a zester like this, you can use the side of a grater just to get the fine part. We just want the surface, because that's where all the oils are, where the flavour is. That mandarin, fine for eating later. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla essence to the butter and to the milk mixture. And we can give that a stir to mix that through. The milk's going to give the liquid to rehydrate the yeast. The liquid is also going to bring the dough together to make the flour wet. That wet flour will then allow us during the kneading process to get the gluten formed. We're going to mix all of those dry ingredients together now. Salt is in there for flavour. Salt is also going to help us to form the gluten. The sugar in there is for flavour, for taste. It's also going to add to some browning reactions later with caramelization. It's also going to be the initial food that the yeast munches on as it warms up. I'm going to add my melted butter and my milk into the center. Okay, I've created a well. And they're going to bring all of that together. So lots of bread recipes, they use water to get the dough together. But what the purpose of using milk is it makes it a bit richer, and what it will also do, it will make it a softer dough. Okay, with your clean hands, you're going to remove the rest of that dough. That's smelling really good with the cinnamon and the mandarin zest going through there. Really nice. You notice we haven't added the fruit yet. We add the fruit when we do the second knead. If you're in a rush, you could actually add the fruit now. I'm going to sprinkle my surface with a little bit of flour. And I'm going to turn out my bowl. I now need to knead, because gluten and gliadin at the moment they're a little bit separated. We need to bring them together to form gluten. Okay, gluten is what's going to give us the structure for capturing all of the carbon dioxide that the yeast is going to produce. So to knead, I push down and I squish away. I fold it and then I push it away from myself. And you'll see how easy at the moment that is to break up. The more I knead, the tougher that gluten is going to be. So in half, back towards me and away. In half, back towards me and away. It's going to take about 10 minutes. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, so you'll see that it's nice and smooth and it's very elastic now. A little bit sticky. We don't want it to be dry. You'll see how smooth that is now. Okay, the gluten's formed nicely. I'm putting it back into the bowl. And I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of water. I'm going to cover with cling film. We're going to leave it nice, warm place until it doubles inside. Good time to get everything else cleaned up at that stage. Right, so that's at 15 minutes at the moment, so you'll see that it's already started to expand. So the yeast is active, it's nice and warm, it's producing carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is being caught by the gluten, which forms a bit like a balloon. See, the bread has grown even more now. So that's at the 40-minute mark. Okay, time to punch down this dough, and when we do it, we're going to add the fruit in there. The reason we go and give it a second knead and we punch it down is to distribute the carbon dioxide all the way through, so we get a nice even bake. So just punch it down and knead that fruit into the dough. Okay, until that's evenly distributed. And flour the bench. Okay, so we just give it another quick knead for a minute or so. Now this dough that we're making today, you could easily make some scrolls with it. Makes a nice fruit and jam scroll, like a cinnamon scroll. You could replace the fruit with chocolate chips if you were feeling decadent. Okay, so when you're happy with that and it's nice and smooth again, now time to divide. So I've lined a tray ready to go. Those fruit. Time to divide the dough. I'm going to go for 8. Okay, we'll make 8. Take those pieces of dough to the side and just work with each piece of dough. To get it into a round shape. Okay, you can fold it into itself into the center, and when you're folding that into itself in the center, you find it will come up nice and round on the outside as well. I'm going to put them straight onto my tray, which has got baking paper, and I'm going to leave a good finger between each one, because they're going to grow again on a second proof. Well, they're going to leave these to rise again. The process of rising where the gluten captures the carbon dioxide is the proving phase. That proving phase allows the carbon dioxide to be formed by the yeast in a process called fermentation. Into the center. Just cover loosely. And we're going to let that rise again. Alright, you'll see how much they've risen in that second proving. I'm going to remove the cling film now. I'm going to make the crosses. It's about 2 tablespoons of flour and about 2 tablespoons of water. A little bit more for this because it's not quite a tablespoon. Then we need to mix it into a paste. Get rid of any of those alright, so you should be able to pipe that quite nicely. Okay, if you don't have a piping bag, just a strong plastic bag will do. Take a glass, put the piping bag in the glass and create a sleeve, and then you're going to pour your mixture for the crosses into the glass. Then you're going to take your bag, give it a good twist so it goes into one corner. Okay, so you're left with something that looks like that. With a pair of scissors, you're going to chop off the corner just enough so that you can create something to pipe from. Then you're going to pipe down the length, down the second side, alright, and then across each bun. And they're ready to go into a hot oven at about 210 degrees to 220 degrees, and they're going to cook for about 20 minutes. Just going into the oven now. I'm looking for a really deep brown colour, even bake all over, and when I tap it, it should sound hollow. A cooling rack. And I've just warmed up some jam in the microwave for a few seconds. I'm just going to spread the jam over the hot cross bun as a glaze. It's having to be a raspberry jam. You could use honey, use apricot jam, and then they're going to be ready to munch when we are. Okay, we're going to take one of those buns. I'm going to cut it open. Okay, look at that texture. And we're going to have some butter. Hot cross bun.